The Japanese use 3 different alphabets: hiragana, katakana, and kanji. Both hiragana and katakana have 46 letters, which is not a big deal. On the other hand, when it comes to learning how to read kanji, the case is quite different. Only if you learn to read some 2,000 different characters can you read the kanji alphabet well. And it is really difficult to learn all of them. As you see, the kanji letters are much more complicated when compared to the ones in hiragana or katakana, because kanji is of Chinese origin. Now, katakana is used to write words with foreign origin in Japanese. In both columns, we see the word turkey. In fact, the word written on the board is toruko, which means turkey in Japanese. And in this part, where you see the kanji letters, the name of the school is written. Although it's very hard for me to read their alphabet, for the Japanese, it's a piece of cake, of course. Now we are the guests of a Japanese family living in Tokyo. We're in their kitchen. Naturally, the Japanese taste is different from ours, but today we'll try new dishes here. We've been told our hostess will prepare a delicious dish for this evening. It's called Ingen no Gomai. Most of you have probably never heard of its name, and neither have we. Loosely translated, it means green beans with sesame seeds. And I'll show you how the Japanese eat it. In this bowl, there's some sesame, and you crush it first. The lady hosting us is an expert of Japanese cuisine. She appears on TV programs and demonstrates recipes. Well, another thing you need to prepare is the green beans. This is a vegetable we can find anywhere, so you can try this on your own if you'd like. In the original recipe, there's no sugar. You see, it appears a bit different from the one we use. But this time, we won't be using sugar. And this is the soy sauce. She says if you want to try it at home, you can use salt instead of sugar, and says yogurt can accompany it while serving. We use yogurt and sesame, and lemon with a few leaves of mint. I wonder what it'll taste like. Arigato gozaimasu!
Very popular among Japanese people. I see.
After we mix our green beans with the soy sauce and crushed sesame, our dish is ready. I don't know if I'll succeed in using these chopsticks, but I'll try.
Doing this?
Yes, it's really good. It's got a good taste. It's definitely worth trying. I've tried it for the first time, and it's really delicious.
Thank you very much. That's good. That's what
After tasting the beans with sesame, it's time to sit at the dining table full of specialties our hostess has prepared for us. We're here with Misami Kiyako Uguno and her family. Mrs. Oguno is an expert in Japanese cuisine, and it's a great pleasure for us to tell you about this aspect of their culture with the help of an expert. This evening, they've also invited their close relatives to be with us. A few minutes ago, I tasted one of the Japanese specialties, but there's a lot more to learn about Japanese cuisine, of course. And thanks to Mrs. Oguno's hospitality, the dinner table is full of various colorful and inviting foods of many kinds. The first dish that attracts attention is sashimi. Sashimi is raw fish, and I'll show you how you can eat it. Now first, you'll need this green spice called wasabi. They say only a little will be enough because it's very hot. Now next, you put it into a small bowl full of soy sauce, and you blend them together, like so. You put it in here, and stir it around. Now because it's so spicy and it kills bacteria, it's eaten with raw fish, so that the fish doesn't do any harm to the body. Now after blending them, which is a very important step that gives a taste to it, you get a piece of raw fish. Now by the way, I'll taste it for the very first time, like the beans with sesame. You know, trying different cuisines is always exciting. Oh no, it's hard to hold on to it. Okay, now it's time to taste the raw fish with wasabi, and it requires special eating methods. Let me eat a piece and see what it tastes like. Here we go. Mrs. Oguno has been working as a culinary expert since 1984. She knows a lot about world cuisines, such as Chinese, Korean, Russian, French, Italian, and Spanish cuisines, and she tries recipes from all over the world. Nowadays, she's also interested in Turkish cuisine. Ingredients for all these dishes are different from one another, so I'll ask Mrs. Oguno to introduce them to us. She'll tell us their names and what they are made with. Mrs. Oguno says that this is called vegetable tempura. Japanese cuisine is very rich and varied. As you see, they have many dishes made with fish, like sashimi. If sashimi includes rice, they call it sushi. Now, on the table, I don't see any sushi, but I can say it is one of the most significant and colorful items of Japanese eating culture. So, yes, please go on. They're telling us at the bottom there's rice, and on top of it there's minced fish. It's served cold and it's called kamaboko. Now, on top of the serving plate, you see a kind of sliced fish loaf. And under this lies more rice. We're going to be tasting them all in a minute, and I can't wait to do so. A different culture and different taste. I've tasted kamaboko at last. It's really delicious, although a bit strange for me. I can say Japanese foods are all quite tasty. Now, here's another type of dish that's totally new to us and very interesting. It's called tako sunomono. Its name is interesting, and so is its appearance. There are octopus tentacles, and this is seaweed. And these are cucumbers, which is the only thing I'm familiar with. Oh, and what's this? This is yam. You know, we're not used to eating seaweed and octopus. It may be a bit difficult for me this time, but this is a Japanese favorite.
You like this a lot, right?
It's a traditional dish, and they're very fond of it. She says it's a very popular dish here. After dinner, Mrs. Oguno wanted to show us the traditional tea ceremony. This is not a simple task in a house in Japan. We first thought so, but we soon learned we were mistaken. It's taken very seriously. The actual name of the ceremony is Seido. Mrs. Oguno first wore her kimono, and then she started the traditional tea ceremony. She followed the traditional steps of making green tea, and she offered it to us. Everything should be in compliance with the rules, and a person needs to be trained to prepare green tea. Even the napkin used is an important detail. Our hostess says that if we were in a public place, she'd be serving it with a pink napkin. But because we're at home right now, I'm using this red one, Mrs. Oguno says. She did this as a profession for 17 years. As you may already know, green tea is a very healthy drink. Okay, yes, she gave me the green tea cup. This tea has a cultural importance for them, and while drinking it, you also follow certain steps. You rotate it twice, like this, and you say, "Itadakimasu," which means have a nice meal, and then you drink it. It's like praying before starting your meal, but it doesn't have any religious connotation. In fact, it can also mean thank you for the meal, and you can say it whenever you're offered something.